Close your eyes and take some deep breaths. And place your hands comfortably on your body. This is the invocation for our Q&A podcast, our community podcast. For those of you that are listening and not in a position to go into a deep, relaxed Reiki state, please fast forward because I can tell this one is going to be a deep one. So fast forward and listen to it later. If you are able to be busy and have it wash over you at the same time, you can do that too. And then also, if you are able to be comfortable and giving yourself Reiki, and even if you don't have Reiki, just follow through with the guided meditation and guided journey. It's using Reiki energy, and you can experience it that way. This is the Reiki Lifestyle Podcast, by the way. Thank you. And I'm Colleen Benelli, here with Danny Smith and our community. All right. So once again, go ahead and close your eyes and take some deep breaths. And place your hands comfortably on your body. Open your heart and receive. As the light is traveling in on your breath and the light within you is revealed, your life force and light force emerging, brightening up with every breath like a dimmer switch being turned up, and just at the right pace for you. Breathe deeply now as you open your heart and receive the power of love. The power of love is the core of creation, the energy that everything is made of. And you breathe in the power of love. And the power of love within you wakes up and is revealed to you. This is what you are made of. And the brilliant light of the earth and the brilliant light of creation flows in on your breath, revealing you to you. And as you breathe in the light and the power of the divine mind. And your divine mind wakes up. As the light of the divine mind from pure consciousness fills your breath, awakening pure consciousness within you, right here in your human consciousness, today in this breath right now. Breathe deeply now and receive. Sometimes it can seem as if it's all hidden. The ways and worries of the world can be busy and a lot. So just simply allow yourself to receive in this moment, letting go of the figuring it out, allowing your higher consciousness and higher thought to wake up and to be present for you so that you can hear you within you. Breathe deeply as the power of the divine mind flows through you and awakens your heart brain. Feel your breath and feel the light flow into your heart, and specifically your heart intellect, your heart's wisdom and knowledge. As you breathe in, the power of the divine mind flows in on your breath and travels to your gut brain. Receive as your gut knowing, your gut instincts awaken. Breathe deeply now as this light fills your body with your breath and opening the channels and aligning through your breath, through your heart, your gut. And now as you breathe in, the light travels in on your breath and flows upward into your head brain, awakening your human skills and knowledge, awakening within you your clarity of mind, higher thought. And the light from the divine heart flows through your soul. The light from the divine heart flows through your soul star and through your crown, flowing all the way through your third eye and your throat and your heart, your belly, and into the earth, through your root chakra and the earth star. And the light of the earth rises through your earth star and through your root chakra. And your whole body aligns. Your gut brain, your heart brain, and your head brain. The channels are open like the tree of life. Your branches reach to the heavens and receive of the heavens. Your roots grow deeply into the earth and receive of the earth. And it all flows through right here into your heart, your head, your gut. And it awakens your higher thought and higher consciousness and applies it to your day to day. Bringing your awareness now to your day to day. Breathe deeply now. As this alignment of the wisdom and knowledge of the earth and of you and of the heavens is right here for you today. Simply receive. Throughout the day today, just give yourself the opportunity to receive. There is a lot of external energy that can be very difficult to navigate through and to try to figure out. And the moment, the solution is to receive. Receive these light force and life force energies that are here in the higher frequencies. as it all activates within you and entrains you to your higher thought, your higher consciousness here in your human brain, head brain, gut brain, for your day to day, your days ahead of you. The beautiful beings of the light are here for you and with you. Your sacred and beloved ones that you are in relationship with, the angels and the archangels, the ascended masters, brothers and sisters in the light, the spirit of the earth, the 12 heavens of consciousness, and the Reiki energies and divine compassion. It all flows through you now as you receive. And as the light fills your breath and as you receive, the light envelops those ways and worries of the world that are heavy for you to carry and lifts them from you, for you. Their cords, connectors, attachments. For whatever reason they're there. And through this light, and the light is the power of love. The light is pure consciousness, divine heart. And through that power of love and the authority of compassion, those layers and the burdens that you carry are lifted from you for you and carried into the light, where they are also healed, their energies transformed, and the burdens of healing them released from you. And so breathe deeply and receive as this is done for you, letting it go and giving yourself this time to receive, to allow your higher thought to be present. And like the tree of life, the stability underneath you and around you. And you breathe deeply now and receive through your body, your human mind and your divine mind, unified, your perceptions clear. The divine animal kingdom is here. Take this moment now as we join together as community to send the power of this love over the earth, for all those who are so needing it. And so we elevate this beautiful frequency of love, higher consciousness, solutions, resources, life force, vitality. peace, joy, wellness, stability. As you breathe in the light, and it fills your breath and flows into your body. And your sovereignty is revealed. Your truth is revealed. Your inner authority is revealed. Your personal power is revealed. Look inside and say thank you to you. And we say thank you to each other. Our circle is always divinely ordered, all who are here live and those who listen later. Thank you. And thank you to the enlightened ones, the Reiki energies, beautiful animals, and the spirit of the earth. Thank you to the teachers who came before us, the descendants who come after. And we are listening here, aware that we can hear information and insights and innovation from the descendants, moving into the distant symbol outside of time and space. The knowledge and the wisdom of those who came before and those who come after. We are grateful to be here in the lineage of light bringers, empowering the light today in our own lives, our loved ones, our friends and family and communities, the people, the earth, the animals and the trees, the waters, and the stones. Thank you. So it is. I do have to come back quickly because we keep the recording going. But for those of you that are still coming back, take as long as you like. Yeah. Yeah, I felt it right at the beginning that it would be a deep invocation. So I was like, I have to come back.
I think it's that new moon solar eclipse vibe.
I do. And I was listening to Molly McCord's astrology, her podcast that she put out yesterday, and was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So, and I have to say, astrologically for me, I am just in the thick of it. All the planets are like in my exact degrees. So that's why I'm just like, I have to, I'm always very practical. So it's not like I go out of body and I'm not still here, because I am still here. I really value being present in my daily life and my body. But I will tell you too, in some of these astrological transits, I can go so far out there into the spiritual realms that I have to remember, oh, come back, and I have my day to do today. So I loved that about this particular invocation, that it really brought it into, here's the energy, breathe it in, heal the parts that are burdens today, but it also brought it into today. So whenever you're listening to this, it's not just today, but it's today whenever you're listening to it. And I think that that's one of the things where I just did a podcast with Tracy Seawright, and she asked, what is one of the things that surprised me the most about Reiki? And I hadn't thought about the answer in advance. So my immediate answer was how practical it is, that how much it is useful as an energy, and the tools that we have that we use with Reiki, the techniques that we have, the different ways of doing things, and then the energy and how the energy itself works. For me, it's just so helpful that it's as practical as it is. And somebody was telling me the other day, they said, well, I just, dialed into it and felt like it wrote my to-do list. And it does, and it can. I mean, not always, not 100%, but it can really clarify for me, because I'm pretty ADD also. So I have a lot of different directions that my attention goes, and I have to really, focus on bringing my attention to what I'm doing. And it helps me do that so well and move into these other levels of thinking how I want to think. That was the biggest thing, is I really like being able to manage my mind, and I like being able to think about what I'm choosing rather than my mind taking off with me, which still happens. I'm definitely not 100%. But I notice it now, and then I think about the tools that I have, the techniques that I have, and how Reiki energy actually flows with those tools, with those techniques, and the energy itself helps me utilize them. And so, for instance, this morning I did have a really scattered brain. Like, I was off on all different subjects, but then also could hyper focus on one and then think, I don't want to think about that. It's like, I don't have to. And so I immediately use the tools I have. Now, in this case, because I was also busy, I just did the Reiki energy on the fly. Like, okay, help me switch my mind. One of the ways that I did that, as speaking of the tools that go with the energy, is that I actually have predetermined lists of things I would rather think about than where my mind has captured me. And so I will stop and think, I don't want to think about this, or I'm not going to think about this. Most of the time, I think, I don't have to think about this. And so I'll switch into, okay, what would I rather think about? But sometimes, because what has captured my attention can be strong enough, it's hard to make the switch. It's hard to know, like, what would I rather think about? So I actually created predetermined lists, and I do change them at different times when I know the things. Sometimes it's, what's in my daily life today. Sometimes it's the big picture questions that I love thinking about, the curiosities that I might have. Um, and so using the tools that I have, but also the Reiki energies. So for me, very specifically, that mental emotional symbol. And I really heard the power of that coming in today in the invocation, where it was that, that connection and alignment with your gut brain, heart brain, head brain, and then the alignment from above coming through and the alignment of the earth coming through. So the alignment is there and present. And what I was observing was the energy coming through and clearing the channels, like coming through each of your chakras, clearing the channels so that that light is flowing and that you can experience it. And then also the awareness that sometimes it doesn't feel like it's flowing, and sometimes it's hard. And that's also true. And I find in those cases, I actually need to validate how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about, and allow myself those times as well. And so the other thing that Reiki energy does is helps me with the discernment about it. So what is my choice? Because another time, maybe I really do need to think about what my brain has captured my attention with. And then I need the discernment. Is this something that I need to be listening to, paying attention to? Is there anything I need to do with it, know about it? Or is it one of those things that I'm going to think, I don't have to think about this right now? So the same thing happens with the tools. And like I say, I use Reiki on the fly. So in this case today, I just went out for a walk because I really wanted to get my walk in. And I went out for a walk. I activated the symbols. I did spend some time with a tree that got hit by a car behind me, and I've been going up and giving it Reiki. And so today I was on my walk and I was hugging the tree. Somebody walked by. I was like, hi. And so I loved it, but the tree is so happy. They're all because it had shown me too that the other trees around it, of course, felt all of the vibration and had their reaction. And so the Reiki energy just came through, and it, went through the root systems and the mycelium to, share. So then it was also interesting. See, this is how my brain works. So then it was interesting because the tree didn't take long. Like I kept feeling like, well, I should be staying here longer, giving the tree Reiki, but it would only be like 5 minutes, and I would feel like, okay, we're done and we're complete. And then I realized it is, of course, they don't have all the filters we have, and so also the Reiki zone where I could just activate Reiki for it and it would be able to feel it. And then the tree showed me how the energy was going up because we live near forests. And so the energy was going up to all the trees in the forest all the way around. So anyway, that I would say is also the Reiki on the fly, expanding my perceptions and what I would rather have been thinking about at that time than the stuff that had captured my brain this morning. Because the stuff this morning, my discernment was, nope, I don't have to think about that. It's like, oh, good. I'm just not thinking about that and letting it go. So it felt very much like the invocation really brought that in for all of us to let that light come in, and then it kept saying, just receive it. Because the big piece that I'm hearing right now is it feels like there's so much to figure out and navigate through for everybody. And yet it's not, it's like the timing still isn't there for many people to know what is going to be on the other side. And so just receiving the energy so that you can be in those heightened perceptions and the stability of the ground underneath you the balance of your branches reaching upward, that receiving all the way through. And then it allows it to come through from another perspective, a deeper perspective. And so your solutions, because that's the other thing, is Reiki is so very solution oriented. The solutions, the resources, the skills, your knowledge, your gifts, your abilities. And then of course, we came together to send the power of the energy and the prayer the invocation around the earth for all those who, well, all of us need it, everything needs it. But also the awareness that by doing that, just simply, even the little bit of time that we did today is activating those higher frequencies, those waves of frequencies, streams of frequencies. And so it's powerful when we are able to elevate into those higher frequencies and empower them, not just for ourselves, but so they exist physically. Okay, well, I think that's all I have to say about that for now. So I never know
Oh,
what's going to come through after those.
no, I love it. It's great. So we have a few questions here. Our first one is ideas for Reiki for clarifying career route, the Reiki career route. So how can we use Reiki for that?
Can you read the first part of that again? I didn't quite catch it. How do we use Reiki for the career route?
Yeah, ideas for Reiki
Oh,
for clarifying career route.
Okay, ideas. Well, I feel like the invocation was also for you. It was very much about that. We did a whole month on listening skills. I think it was in July, maybe it was June. And I will tell you, it's a hard topic to inspire people to want to go and learn about, like listening, but it's so much deeper and such a foundation of being able to hear you. The listening piece of it is so you can hear you. And so that's the step one. That's the foundation. And a lot of times that's the hard part and where we need a lot of healing, because a lot of us did not experience being heard or being able to express your voice, even to the degree that we lost or not lost the ability to hear ourselves, but it's either underdeveloped or even diminished, that ability to truly go within and listen to yourself. So that to me is step one, is using the Reiki energy to go within and to listen and perceive within you at a deeper level. So specifically, how do I do that? I use the distance symbol and I think of it as a bridge of light that is taking me, and this is a metaphorical imagery, and I'll describe it, but it's a metaphorical imagery that makes sense for me. So I perceive that distance symbol, as a bridge of light. And right now it is on the outside of my auric field, which includes my daily personality, who I am right now, and my daily decisions that I need to make. And so I actually imagine myself stepping onto that bridge, going deeper and deeper and deeper into myself. And as I cross over the bridge, I'm actually landing in the inner depth of me. For me, I think of it as my higher consciousness. I think of it as um, moving into my soul's knowledge, also my skills, my human skills, that they work together. And then really listening with that perception triad that this invocation went through so deeply into. So as you were breathing in the invocation, that was using that mental emotional symbol, SHK, and breathing it in as it was opening all the channels between the heart, brain, gut, brain, head, brain, the perception triad, so that you can hear yourself from all your perspectives, and all your perspectives have an equal voice. So the logic, the skills, the practicalities of your head brain have a say-so. They need to be listened to too. Your heart, what does your heart want? Needs to be listened to. What does your gut know? What's your gut instinct? What's your gut knowing? So as those are aligned, you can better hear yourself to have more clarity around your decisions. Also, if you think about how the invocation worked, and you don't have to do it in this recording or this invocation, you can do this the way it works for you. But then in the invocation, that light comes in to move through all the places and envelop the places where you may have blocks, limitations, resistances, life experience that creates these layers over you, making it hard to hear you, to see you, to know your decision making. And so that is that power symbol really comes in. And of course, the master symbols, really all the Reiki energies. I'm just giving some specifics, but the Karuna symbols are powerful for all this, the master symbols. So, and for those of you that, don't have Reiki at all, this is still relevant. You're still receiving. But going back to the releasing, so the releasing comes in to let go of those things that make it difficult to have that clarity of mind or clarity of choice. And what is so valuable about Reiki and why it kept saying just receive is sometimes we don't know what all that is. That's why we're blocked. That's why we're limited. We don't know what they are on a conscious level, or we would be doing what we know to do to help that. And so the Reiki energy will literally come in for you, release attachments, cords, connectors, blocks, limitations, for whatever reason they're there for, really any time in your soul's history, lift it out, because Reiki energy has the authority of love. And love is at the core of creation, and everything is on its journey back to it. So everything that is released from you goes into that power where it can be healed and no longer your burden to heal it. It does it for you. It's part of the nature of the way Reiki works. So just simply sometimes allowing yourself to receive the energy and let it do for you. So often we've learned the lessons. We know what they are. We have the awareness. We know what the blocks are. And a lot of times we just simply need something to come in and release the energy for us. Because sometimes that's what is left, is the energy of it. And then other times we do need to know more. And again, that's where that discernment comes in, that the energy of it takes you into a higher level of discernment. So then specifically with career choices, because now we've talked about your internal listening, now you also have external listening. So giving yourself the ability to lift into a higher level of perception as you are observing your external circumstances too. So it actually helps you to see things more clearly, because it's easy enough to get into some of the denser frequencies around things like job, career, money, timing, wanting, practicalities, all of those things. There are different frequencies of awareness and streams of awareness around those specific human conditions. It's something that we think about and need to address. And so elevating, being very clear that it is possible for you to elevate into higher frequencies about career, about job, about your own personal choices, and listening from that perspective and letting it merge with your internal knowing, and also that perception triad is now observing the external circumstances. And the word observing is useful here because it can move you into that place where you can observe your choices. Oh, that's right. Then the month after the decision, after the listening, we did, and these are all on our YouTube and podcast channels, but the month after we did the whole listening topic and covered that, we did decision making. So I feel like it's like I'm so glad that this is here for you and helpful. Um, so decision making, and decision making can be like, here's what my heart wants and I'm going for it. And then also your head has to say, well, wait a minute, what about the practicalities? What about this? What about that? And those aren't necessarily fears. Those are assessment, analysis, logic. And then what does your gut instinct say about all of it? And there you go, and really listening. And that's another area that we often have to heal, because it is often, gut instinct is often an underdeveloped skill, because we're not really taught that as much as I think it will be taught in the future, as more people are becoming aware of decision making through your gut instincts. Because your gut instincts aren't just your instincts from like what you know today about observing your environment. It goes all the way into your knowledge. It goes into that, there's ancestral gifts and knowledge. There's your own past life gifts and knowledge that you come in, that is all a part of your human knowledge that activate in your gut instincts, your gut brain. So automatic writing, I would say, is another really good tool. I'm thinking about that. I just did a whole thing on that, and maybe I will figure out how to get that out, where we actually went into questioning. Anyway, it's kind of over here. I'm not grabbing it. So those are ideas. And then, follow your path. Sometimes the other thing I would say is that sometimes you're in a place of just standing still and you're not ready to make a choice. Sometimes you're ready to take one step forward. Sometimes you can see the path clearly ahead of you. And so also being in that place of observation of where are you? That's another one we've been talking about that probably in our distance Reiki share at the end of October, we'll probably do the eagle and mouse vision journey, which is already on our YouTube channel. You can look it up, but we'll do it again live. That's another really helpful one because you take with through your imagination, you lift your perceptions up to an eagle view of your path behind you and in front of you. And then bring your perceptions all the way down to the mouse view. And the mouse view is what's immediately right in front of you. So we'll be doing that again too. That's coming up soon. Danny, have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, that's great. I'm sorry I was in chat during all this, so if you said this, I'm sorry. Another thing is like to have a Reiki session, go into a Reiki session with a friend or whoever, and do a Reiki journey, a Reiki meditation, and see what comes up. Because you might be thinking too close, like Colleen was saying, the mouse view, too close. And so to expand your perception and just have different insights is nice. And then also I was thinking about this. We did this in a class many years ago, but make a vision board of what your career and what your business looks like to you, what feels good to you, and make kind of do a visual. And it's kind of fun. I've done that before, and I just actually came across it, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting because so much has come true. And so it's really fun. So that's a fun little craft to do too for your career.
I have been thinking so much about vision boards. That's a great idea too. Yes. Oh, awesome.
Okay, let me get back to the next question here. Go up. Okay, here we go. Does Facebook have a frequency? Why can people feel so sad, empty, excluded, distressed after reading a post? Just wondering because I felt these things. What to do about these feelings with Reiki?
Such an interesting question. So does Facebook have a frequency? Well, I think it probably has the same as everything. It has duality, and it has everything from lower frequency to higher frequency. I will tell you my own process of decision around social media. I'm very careful about my algorithm. So I'm very careful about what I click on and what I look at. At the same time, sometimes I'm curious and I'm like, I gotta see what they're talking about. And so I click on something that I'm like, okay, gotta change my algorithm. And so where I came to the conclusion, because I was doing all of this work before Facebook was brand new. And I had already had a full-time Reiki practice, and so Reiki business. And so when Facebook came on, all of a sudden I was like, what? I Facebook? Oh, and then figuring it out. So Danny actually and I did that together, and she really like has developed a whole messaging with it. Through our team meetings, we had to become very clear about what our messages were and why we were sharing what we shared. So originally in the day when I was really resistant to it, and I had a client whose family was in the middle of Syria in the wartime. And I asked her how she was keeping in touch with her family. and because she lived here and they lived there, and she said Facebook. And so in that moment, I understood that it is it is it is a global communication avenue and stream. So like everything else here on the earth, it's a dual realm, right? So we have lower frequencies and higher frequencies. And for those of us that do a lot of this kind of work, commonly, we are very empathic people. So we have to pay attention to what streams and frequencies we engage in, because it can be painful when you feel the pain of others. And so there's the difference between bypassing it all and engaging in higher frequencies with it. And so I have to observe it pretty constantly. Like, where am I? What am I looking at? What can I be okay with looking at today? And then also, how do I get my algorithm into things that I enjoy seeing and people I want to stay connected with in this way? And then in our own messaging, we have decided always that it will be a safe place for people to land, that all different perceptions and viewpoints globally can come to our page, and there will be wellness and benefit and something that we believe assists in communication. How do we help and how do we contribute to healthy and positive communication while we are in the infancy of global communication? To me, we are in the same age shift that happened when the Gutenberg press was invented and printing and books became available to the average person. And so this is a whole new era, and we're at the beginning of it. And I think in terms of what can I do to contribute into these fields and these innovations. And that's where I really believe the Reiki energy and the way that we come together in these ways actually is an intention and an invitation and a manifestation of these higher frequencies in these fields. And so it's actually a part of our activism. It's what I can do. I can be here, I can be stable, I can communicate consistently in a way that is, to me, very effective. And then on a personal level, for instance, I noticed myself in an algorithm on TikTok where everybody was complaining about their husbands. Right at the time my husband had retired and was home all day. Suddenly after, 40 years of going to work. And so I started like, oh, he does that. Well, he doesn't do that. Okay, he doesn't do that. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to focus my attention here. We are in a new transition in my life. And this is another area. How do I choose to think about this? So I changed my algorithm, and mainly I get horses and cats and things like that. Babies, oh my gosh, some of the latest babies could not be cuter. I still get some of this stuff, and frankly, some of it I'm getting to see that isn't on the mainstream or legacy news, that I feel like I get to see. Like I would not know the level of everything going on from Hurricane Helene without some of the social media sources. And so I think it's a matter of being aware of your empathy and being careful with it. So if you find that it is making you sad, either, change what you're looking at. I did that intentionally by clicking on things that I wanted to look at, like crochet. So I get all these crochet channels now. Creativity. Oh, right now too, all the Halloween DIYs. And, those are showing up. So I'm very specific about clicking on those that I want to shift into something I want to look at. At the same time, there are times when I do want to know what's going on in the world through the eyes and the lens of social media, because sometimes it's, to me, very honest, and we get to see some of that. And here comes that squirrel. He hasn't, he's right behind me. And so anyway, with your empathy, also try and see if, it's getting louder. And for those of you that weren't here earlier, I don't know if it was on the recording, but I have squirrels in the wall and he just showed up. So anyway, that's what that scratching noise is. So back to the empathy with social media. Also, if you want to engage the way you're engaging and still struggling with it, also try using Reiki. Place that field and filter around you before you even engage with it, before you even turn it on. And what I mean by that is you could take simply the power symbol, place it in front of you, on the sides, behind you, above you, below you, create a filter of a higher frequency energy so that as you are observing your social media, you have that energy that is going to act more like a filter for your empathy. So it's when you have empathy like that, and there is right now, there's so it's it's so intense out there. And I don't mean to diminish it by making it, seem as if I'm not aware. I'm very aware of the intensity in the world right now. And so I go to what can I do? What can I do about it? And there are a lot of different ways we can contribute. And also for me, I really do believe in the contribution of these energies as a really valid contribution. I hear from out in the descendants that they talk about how important it is that we are adding these intentions of higher frequencies into these fields of technology as they are being innovated with, into the element of the electromagnetic fields as they're being innovated with. And so these higher frequencies will actually exist. We have physically set an intention that we want them to be a part of this global communication. We want it to be a part of Zoom calls. We want it to be a part of this technology energy as we are innovating in it. And Danny, anything you want to add?
No, I think that's great. I think it's good. I agree. So our next question is, can Reiki help shift difficulties with our specific requests? I've been asking to heal an ailment for 8 years now, but I don't know whether acceptance is the lesson. I'm not sure.
You know, I think of some of those as in the mystery. That same here. I've had balance and ear issues now for probably heading on about 3 years. And I mean, I'm doing everything. Western medicine, Eastern medicine, massage, cranial sacral, chiropractic, acupuncture, supplements, dietary changes. It's all a whole, like, what is it? And I keep going and keep trying, and I use Reiki energy to help guide me through what my solutions are, where are the resources, how do I find them, and the persistence of it, because it's not debilitating by any amount, but it's definitely has has changed my ability to say hike the way I've always hiked. You know, I definitely don't want to be balancing going across a river over rocks anymore. Like, that's probably not okay. Like, it's more likely I'm either going in or something's going to happen. So it's life changing in a lot of ways. And so I have also had to use Reiki to adapt to some of those life changes and the frustrations that can go with it, and the concern about, where is the fix? How do I find it? And the frustrations with some of the systems that, don't get me started on gaslighting. It's like, I am so over the gaslighting. And, then how do you manage that? Like, those kinds of frustrations, and then the discernment necessary. So it's interesting because I think that so far the questions seem to be a match for the invocation. That, again, sometimes what I do, I truly just say, Reiki on, I receive. I use holy fire a lot. I'll just think, holy fire, I receive. And let it come in and highlight my higher consciousness so I can perceive it around me and the choices that I make. And then sometimes, like, why isn't that answerable? And what I have seen in all the methods of trying to answer it, it, it's just, like I say, I put it into the mystery category. Like, I don't know. It's, we keep going for the solutions and you keep trying. And I do know that people do heal from things. I have absolutely had miracles happen with Reiki and in my hands. And then I have also had it where it is healing you to the place of maybe it is acceptance, or maybe it is adjustment, or maybe it is persistence. For me, it's still persistence. Like, I'm doing that, but I had a year of extreme chronic fatigue from an eye virus, um, that I didn't even really have the power that I needed to keep going, and still had to push through it, like, still do it anyway. And having the Reiki energy to help me do that. So it's not always going to bring the cure, but it can bring the ability to navigate through it all in the best way possible. Today it was interesting when I was on that walk I was talking about, and shifting from my, you know, monkey mind going on into a bigger picture, and my time with the tree, and then the trees all around me, and then getting my walk done because I was on a time frame. And it just took me into the bigger picture of just being human on the earth in the 21st century. And sometimes it's helpful to me to take my perception out to that awareness and have the peace within to just be like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what this place is anyway. So I think that's the best answer I can give you right now. Just use your tools, let it help you navigate through it.
I agree. I think too that it's very frustrating to hear this sometimes, but I think timing sometimes is the timing and your messages. And um, we work a lot with chakras and like where it is in your body and kind of honing in on that and seeing what's going on in your life is sometimes helpful too. But I think timing, it's like, oh, it could be a year or a month or a day. And it's like, oh, now I get it. So sometimes just being patient too.
Boy, timing is so true. And and so often we only recognize the timing in retrospect. Maybe we can plan for the timing, but a lot of it. Well, Danny, you brought up the chakras, and so because we're talking about some of the practical tools, I know you do a lot of work with a pendulum with the chakras. So what you just explained, can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I do this mostly in my in-person sessions, but I use a pendulum, which is a hangy. I don't have one right here, and so I go over each chakra and see what's for me a yes or no. And it's so interesting because I could, for instance, talk to a client and feel something in their heart space. And I'm like, is it, or their root space, for instance? That's a good one. And I'm like, is everything okay with your relationships and finances? And they're like, yeah, everything is good. I'm like, okay. So in my mind, with my pendulum, the root chakra was a little, off. And off not being a negative thing. I actually like it when I feel something doing a Reiki session because it's a place to focus on. It's like taking your car into the shop. You're like, I hear this sound, and the mechanic goes, I don't know, I didn't see anything. It's so frustrating. But if you have, they're like, oh, I know exactly what it is. This is the area that we need to work on. So that's how I feel like with chakras. And so I go back to the root, and finally at the end of the session, they're like, well, my daughter hasn't been talking to me for the last 6 months. So that's the only thing that's weird. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that makes sense to me. And so sometimes when you have an ailment for a really long time, just kind of getting to that root cause in that area is really helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, pendulum, another tool, because I was thinking about that after we finished talking about the career too, is that sometimes like tarot readings,
Mhm.
astrology readings, uh,
Oracle cards.
oracle cards, yeah, divination. I always think of them as a divination techniques, can be helpful. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Our next question. I have been doing holy fire for about 4 years, and I find that I've lost my clairvoyance. How can I get this gift back, please?
Well, my thought would be, and I don't know without actually, having a direct conversation around this, but my thought would be to um, check the other clair senses that you may be um, shifting into another style of intuition. And it may not be that the clairvoyance has left permanently and now you're going to only have this next style of intuition. But it may be for you to learn this next way of how your intuition also works. So, clairvoyance is one style of intuition, and it's often the one we like the most, or is the most commonly talked about. And clairvoyance is where you actually see your intuition. And that's how it works for me, is that I can see it, but it's never predictive. It's never and it's always metaphorical. So I had to actually develop some of my other intuition styles because the clairvoyance just showed me pictures. It didn't, I wasn't able to grab a hold of what was meant by the pictures that I saw. And so Reiki actually brought in other styles of intuition that I could develop. And one of the common ones is clear intellect. So understanding how, which is you think your intuition, it's coming more from your head brain rather than we think of intuition as third eye or gut or heart. But you actually have more of a logical intuition, or you think your intuition out loud in words. And I see that so commonly. It's the reason I talk about that one a lot, is because it's often a misunderstood intuition style, and definitely one that people will question themselves the most with, because it sounds like your own brain telling you something. You're hearing it in your own words. It's conversations you're having. So when you learn how one of them is your bright mind, which is that intuitive, clear intellect, and the other then is your ordinary mind, you get to where you're used to the difference. And so I had to really learn that one, the clear intellect, and how to understand it, what was what. And so that would be my recommendation, is to, if you go onto our website, reikilifestyle.com, and then over on the far right, the menu item is Reiki Library, and go all the way to the bottom and it says free downloads. And in that free downloads, we talk about the clair senses, and it's in a very quick form. It's also something you can easily Google. Lots of information about clair senses, and start to listen for another style that seems to be showing up, and see if it is coming in to teach you this next way to also expand your intuition style and develop it even further. So that would be my first level of advice. And I've had other people that's happened with, and mostly commonly that's what it is what's this expansion of your intuition style that is trying to emerge, but it just hasn't quite clicked in yet. And then once it clicks in, that's when you can start to develop and become more fluent in it. And then it may be that the clairvoyance comes in, or even sometimes another one of the clairs comes in. So I've recently had more with I always lose track of which one's which, but the one where I'm smelling more of my intuition. And that one I haven't had. And so that's one that's like, oh, look at this, and noticing that that's there. And so try that. And then, if you still have more questions about it, definitely, come back for another Q&A, or also feel free to always email us next week. So this will be posted on Monday. On Tuesday, tomorrow, we are going to cover intuition in the distance Reiki share. And that will be also to do a journey to clear any blocks to your intuition, and also to empower your intuition. And then we'll be talking about the intuition styles, the clair senses. So I think that must be September 8th. That is from 9:30 to 11 on Pacific time. And you go to reikilifestyle.com to sign up for that. Also, we will be posting it on YouTube and our podcast channel on that following Thursday. So it'll be on there too.
That'd be October 8th, right?
October, yeah, thank you. October 8th.
I know, we're already in October.
Mm.
I agree. I agree with that. I also think that uh, for me, like taking the next step classes you have or different classes or continuing to do practice, practice, practice really gets you into what your clairvoyance is, right? And just trusting that because I think we all have it and that trust because in sessions like when I first started I would be like, oh my gosh, I see a wheelbarrow, that's really weird, and I wouldn't say anything, and then later in the session like, oh, I just, I've been doing gardening, I have a wheelbarrow. I'm like, oh my gosh. So just trusting what comes in, and it's you can make it fun and not about us, right? It's just what comes in, and so just trusting that intuition.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
The other
so
thing I should mention while I'm thinking about it is on November 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific, we are going to do a free webinar on healing your past lives and revealing the past lives of mastery. So that will be free. We'll be sending out information for that. Thinking as I'm saying this out loud, we haven't done, I don't think we've put the structure together for it yet. So Danny's like, thanks. We have till Monday, Danny.
yeah, I know. It's so many days away.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Robin. So anyway, we may not have all the registration stuff ready by the time you listen to this, but just heads up, November 20th, excuse me, November 20th, we're doing that free webinar.
We can do it at the end of this, but you have quite a few announcements to make of all your speaking engagements. And so we can do that at the end if you'd like, or you can do it now. But I have people in the chat reminding you of a couple.
Well, that's what made me think of it, of the webinar, and Em put in the chat that we, both Robin and I are presenters on the Reiki Raise Summit in this year. She is talking about Animal Reiki, and I am talking about Reiki for change and renewal. And so that's what that is about. I'm also doing another summit with Christian at Standing Stones Reiki, and that one is all about business. And in that one, I'm presenting Create Your Business Identity. And so that one too. And then heading to Japan, coming back from Japan, all of this stuff. I'm teaching with William Rand for 3 weeks on Mount Karama, 2 weeks, 2 different classes. And then also doing a Reiki 1 and 2 class with Lena and Munikai in Kyoto, and that will be in person and online. That's November 3rd and 4th. And then I think I'll go ahead, since I'm on a roll, that we do start our Next Step Reiki registration. That will open right at the same time as the webinar. So the Next Step classes start in January 15th and 16th, level 1, level 2, and level 3, and then also Explore the 12 Heavens class starts in January also. Okay, I think that's everything.
and then you have a Animal Reiki masterclass still next or this coming week. So on the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and there's still space. So it's going
This,
to be a great class.
it will, but this gets posted after that one.
That's true. I'm just telling the people here, I guess. I have people in here asking me, when's the next class? And then the people that are asking, it's all on our website, all the summits and speaking engagements. And then we just sent out a newsletter. So we let you know all about this in our newsletter. If you want to register for that, it's on Reiki Style, like ReikiLifestyle.com under newsletter. And all this is sent to you and reminding you. And I will get back to you in chat about when those dates are. So that's great.
Yeah, and Robin and I just did a podcast on We haven't posted it yet, but we just recorded a podcast on the more in-depth topic about what Next Step Reiki is and what the 12 Heavens is. So anyone that's interested and wants to know more in depth about it, I think we like talked about it for an hour and a half. We had to actually finally stop. It's like, okay, we better stop. So anyway,
All right. So we have some emailed questions come in, and it's interesting because a couple of them are about animal Reiki. So I'm just kind of glob them together. The first is, what is the difference between human Reiki and animal Reiki classes? And then it goes on to have more. When can you take an animal Reiki master class? And how do you do distance animal Reiki sessions? So there's a lot in there, and we can just maybe go on that topic.
okay. So the difference, so we're talking about the class itself. I'll start there. So the difference in the animal Reiki class and human Reiki class really isn't that different in structure. So because I'm a licensed teacher for the ICRT, and this was written as an ICRT Animal Reiki class, we structured the format of the class similarly to a Reiki 1 and 2 class. So in structure, it's similar. So in the sense of, we have the information about it, we have the techniques that we use, and the practice time, and the energy that you receive a placement or attunement to. And then we practice with the animals. Day one, we actually start with distance Reiki for the animals. And one of the things that has been so valuable with teaching Animal Reiki online the way that we have been is that a lot of Animal Reiki is done at a distance because of the logistics of the animals. So in an in-person animal Reiki class, then we are practicing, of course, still distance Reiki, but we are also practicing on the animals live. In the online class, we are doing all of the same techniques that you would do in person, but now you're doing them at a distance. So one of the benefits that we have really seen with that is, again, the ability for outreach, because it's just not that easy to get a cat to a person. Dogs are a little bit more comfortable, or you as the practitioner getting to the animal. What radius and location are you able to reach if you are only practicing in person? Which is what, some people definitely prefer. So this isn't a better than, but because you also asked about distance Reiki. So distance Reiki with animals works the same as it does with humans. When we talk about the difference between animal Reiki and human Reiki, there are some pretty significant differences in the way that you're practicing. In human Reiki, it's pretty assured. So for instance, when someone schedules an appointment, you know how long they're going to be there, they know how long they're going to be there. You're either going to be online or in person. The person knows what they're doing and what you're going to do. And so everything is a lot more standardized. It's a lot more standardized isn't necessarily the right word, but it's predictable. That's a better word. So with humans, you know how it's going to work. They know how it's going to work. You can close your eyes. You can, go into that deep Reiki state while you're in the session. With Animal Reiki, we teach Reiki in motion. So the animals aren't specifically restrained. Now, Danny has some cats that you'll see pictures of that she can actually place her hand on them and they will receive Reiki that way. Many cats are like, I'm leaving. Don't put your hand on me to that degree. So we actually create what's called a Reiki zone, and the animals are animals in motion, which her cats are too, even though they like the touch part of it. But what that Reiki zone does and the Reiki in motion, the animal has the complete freedom to move in and out of that field. So they are comfortable with how they're receiving and the amount they're receiving. The other part of it is the timing, because in human Reiki, you might schedule an hour and a half session, and in animal Reiki, they may be complete in 20 minutes. And then sometimes with particularly horses, they will keep you there as long as you will, and many cats will also receive for as long as you are willing to give Reiki. So also with animal Reiki, because everything is in motion, your eyes are open and you are now in a different level of Reiki energy observation. So you are now in this state of your instincts are awake, your perceptions are expanded, and you're aware very much of your environment and the environment of the animal. If you are in person with that, so for instance, because I've always had horses and been involved with friends with horses, I have barns to go to. So when I go to the barn, then I am there. The animals are typically like the horses are in their paddock or they're in their pasture, and they actually still have that Reiki zone. Not that you can't bring them into, an aisleway, or you can't have them tied, because horses actually often really like hands-on. Um, so, they're a lot more receptive. My horse would just stand there and his head would just slowly drop, and he wanted like my whole body on him. So I would actually be, emanating Reiki from my chest and just have my arms spread out, my hands reaching around him, and my whole body Reiki. Um, but often too, now because of logistics, I may send distance Reiki to the same animals that I gave in person. So distance Reiki, sometimes people do say over FaceTime, where you're actually, able to see the animal. The caregiver is, tracing the animal with, say, a phone, and you're able to observe what the animal is doing through the phone. Other times you're going to give distance Reiki where you might use my surrogate. I have my surrogate, which is my distance bunny, and I use him to give Reiki at a distance, and he is the surrogate that is doing the work with me. So when in the class, there's a lot, like that's why we require the prerequisite for any of the Reiki levels, animal Reiki levels, is the human Reiki before you take the animal Reiki, because the animal Reiki class is very full. There's a lot of information, practice time, the attunements, the experiences that we have, and then understanding the energy, talking about the energy. We also do some of the teaching on the webcams. In the summertime, we've got the bears in Alaska, and then all around the world there are webcams that we can give Reiki with. We also give Reiki with to the earth itself, giving Reiki to cities. So it's not just animal Reiki, it's really earth Reiki, nature Reiki. Then the master class, when you do have to be a human Reiki master to take the Animal Reiki master class. You also have to have taken the actual ICRT Animal Reiki 1 and 2 prior to taking it too. So people can take it from any lineage. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have had the training from a specific lineage, but you do need the Usui symbols so that you are prepared for what we do in the Animal Reiki, and you already have some of the experience. Um, the master class is a 3-day class. All the classes, they're very in depth and full, and you definitely come out with a lot of skill and knowledge. Also, I want to say at the same time, I used the Reiki I had for animals for 15 years before we started to develop this course and this energy. And so, for those of you that have already been giving Reiki to animals or feel intuitively like you know how, absolutely feel empowered to use the Reiki that you have the way that you're guided for animals, for the earth, for everything too. This is an additional training that definitely, we as the authors, it's Sue Strong, who, she's worked in the elephant fields in Thailand. She has worked with exotic animals, has a degree in it, and been a trainer at the Guide Dogs for the Blind for 30 years, and just extensive animal experience. Pam LeBlanc has several hundreds of acres, farms, and she's been raised with horses and farm all her life, and the same with me and Robyn. So we really have a lot of knowledge about animals, as well as Reiki and Reiki with animals. So there's a lot that we offer. I think the courses are just really amazing. And so, um, if you feel called to it, you'll be glad you took it. At the same time, if you're not feeling called to it, definitely feel free and be empowered to use your Reiki your way that you're already doing or feel guided to do your way.
I agree with all that. I do want to say one of the differences for me, because I was a Karuna Reiki master for many years when I took my first Animal Reiki class, and safety was the biggest thing that came for me. That was a difference. And for instance, I received a horse in-person Reiki session the week I took Animal Reiki. So it's so amazing. And so in the class, we just learned how, and I'm not a horse person. I love them so much, but I haven't been around them. And so it's kind of intimidating. And so the safety factor really helped me, because the caregiver may be like, oh, just come into this, I don't even know what to say, corral, pasture, come on in. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. Let's just take this step by step. Did my Reiki feel, did all this. And it ended up being wonderful and amazing. And the horse and I really connected. However, I would not have known what to do in my position because I'm not used to horses. And so for me, the class really just gave me tips on how to be safe for myself, for the animal, and for the caregiver. And so that's a really big difference too. And then also when I do Reiki animal Reiki sessions, um, if they're not in person, if they're online, which I would say 90% of my sessions are online, I can do it both on Zoom. And so if for instance, if it's end of life for the pet, they can easily put their camera on the pet, and I can see the pet, and we do it together. Sometimes if it's a behavioral issue or something going on, um, they're not going to be, I don't want them to run around with their phone trying to keep the dog or cat or goat on on the camera. And so I can be like, just send me a picture, and that's all it takes. So it could be really simple too. So just different ways of doing it.
Well, the energy said it's simple, practical, and efficient. And it really is. Yeah. And so, what Danny was talking about is we also teach, you can give Reiki to an animal at a distance in person. So in her case, standing on the outside of the stall rather than going into the stall with the horse, unknown, and actually turned out that it was not safe to be in the stall with that horse. He was too young and hadn't learned spatial distances yet. And so it was so beneficial to know that you can give Reiki even at a distance in person, and you do not have to be directly next to them and on them. And then it's fascinating to watch how we activate what's called a Reiki zone. And so you're just intending Reiki to be in the space and watch them walk in and out of it. It's, it's, it's so beautiful. So first, just being animal lovers anyway. So,
I have to share this really short story about that.
okay.
So I had a different Reiki session with a horse, and the horse had just gone blind, and it was in a pasture. And so my friend Paloma and I, who's also a student of yours, we went and we imbued Reiki in a section of the corral. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Where it's fenced off. So we put this is put Reiki over in this section of the corral, and he didn't know where to go. It was very he was in a new place, and it was all new to him. And so we just sent Reiki from a distance. We didn't touch him because he didn't know how to come up to us or anything, and he was scared. And so as we were leaving, we were watching him, and he actually walked over to that section of the corral, makes me kind of choked up, and just went into this corner that we put it in and just looked up. And he was just like, and it was just like so beautiful. So it's really awesome.
It reminds me of the very first years ago horse that I was working with, and he was like one of these dream horses, big black Frisian. And they're the big black curvy horses with the long manes and tails, and they're just anyway. So I was working with him, and he was a stallion, so he was definitely one that I was working with on the outside of the pasture, even though I'm very familiar with horses and have worked with them all my life, but it was just safer to be on the outside. Same thing, he didn't have really good spatial distances. And so he actually wanted an attunement to Reiki, which we teach how to do in the master class. So that same thing of activating the energy, and he would walk over and put his head in my hands, and then he would leave, and he'd walk around the corral again, put his head in my hands, and he kept doing that, just engaging with it. And of course, for me, it was a dream. Like you know, and for horse people, like the movie The Black Stallion, this horse was that stunning, and I'm all starry-eyed getting to work with him. And it was so much fun and just a beautiful experience. So safety, there are three priorities with Animal Reiki that we teach very, like, here's some core information you need to know. Safety, observation, and then also consent, because the animals themselves have the right to consent with their caregivers' consent. So that's another piece, is learning what that means with the animals, which animals they rarely say no. And if they say no to Reiki, typically it's because, maybe it's dinner time or their person's coming home or, they can't be bothered right now. One time I stopped at um, this bush just buzzing with bees, but it was almost nighttime, so it was dusk. And I stopped to give them Reiki, and I heard such a strong message of, no, you're slowing us down, and we only have this amount of time to finish what we're doing. So you can come back tomorrow, but right now we have stuff to do. And so it was such a clear message. And that's the other thing, is that you really do hear a different type of communication. It's more the observation is more of a communication style. With animal Reiki, your eyes are open, you're noticing the body language of the animal, you're noticing from an observational viewpoint and keeping your eyes open so you're aware of your environment. But then the uh, communication part of it is often enhanced. They're really two separate trainings, like animal communication. People can do animal communication without Reiki, and people can do animal Reiki without animal communication. But often, because of the energies of them, most people will, or many people will discover that they've probably already been communicating without knowing it, and Reiki can bring that awareness in that way.
Okay, I think we have time for one last question. It
Okay.
is, do I charge extra when doing a Reiki session for multiple people online or in person?
You really get to decide about that. Um, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. It depends on what it is. Oh, I've worked with people that um, where maybe it's a family member or something where they're together. Depends on what it is, and I'll charge one fee for it. But also, you can establish another price for that, and maybe each person isn't paying the full price, but they're each paying something. Um, or you could even do it where they're all paying the full price. I think you really just have to determine that from your own like business style with it. And trust that you get to make the choice that is appropriate for you and for your clients. There really is only the right answer for you. And be confident in the answer that you choose. So if you decide, yes, actually, the way this is working, I do need to charge for each person, feel confident that that's the right answer. And then, if also you're in it and it's like, say, a mother and child or something, for me, those are typically one session. Um, but I would also think that it's easiest for you to establish your policy and keep the same policy for everything. Otherwise, you have to redecide case by case, which can be very awkward and difficult for you, and kind of place that difficulty and continued decision. So listen around it, make your decision, and if there is a time you make an exception for that, then it would be an exception. Or you would have, like, I have this policy for this situation, this policy for this situation. And I think once you are clear, then your clients will be comfortable with the choice that you make, because you will have resonated a match and been listening with Reiki on what that looks like for you.
I agree. I think that the most times I have multiple is when it's an animal Reiki session because I will have the animal and the caregiver. And so I typically make that one as well because if I get a request and it's for, a cat, I'm like, well, it typically involves the caretaker. And so I always just ask if they want to be included in the session. And I've never been declined. I mean, they're like, yeah, sure. And so it typically involves both the caretaker and the animal. So that's for me.
Yeah, and in that case, you could even say, my sessions really include both the caregiver and the animal. And so you can make those decisions on your policies and be confident with it and trust yourself that you get to make that choice.
Okay, I think we're at the end of time almost, and I don't see anybody else have a question in here right now. So
Okay, well, this Julie did ask, she said she's taken Reiki 1 and 2. Can she take the Animal Reiki course? Absolutely. They can even be taken back to back. So for instance, there's no time difference between, say, when you take human Reiki 1 and 2 and animal Reiki 1 and 2, they could be, in 4 days. You could do it that way. The same with the Animal Reiki Master class. There isn't a requirement that you wait 6 months from Animal Reiki 1 and 2 to Animal Reiki Master. The only place that would be in play is if you were just now a human Reiki 1 and 2 and you're waiting the 6 months for the human Reiki Master. But you can take the Animal Reiki Master as soon as you've taken Animal Reiki 1 and 2, if you're already an Animal Reiki Master, and you can also take those back to back too. It's always a lot to explain. I don't know if I said it right, but anyway. Well, for everyone, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you being here, of you that are here live. We always talk about, that's probably the one thing I didn't say about social media is community. We get to have community that is around the world because of these pathways of global communication. And so I'm also endlessly grateful for the possibility of connecting the way that we do and being community the way that we are. It's in the invocation when it talked about stability, I thought, well, this is a big part of my stability is community and how we come together for these things. So thank you so much. And we'll just take a moment and open the circle. Take a moment, each of you, and look inside of yourself and say thank you to you, because through it all, you are listening to you. That inner calling, inviting you to know more about you, to be able to hear you and to heal the places that have limited you or burdened you, so you can go into your own inner truth and be in your own divine presence while you're here being human in your daily life. And we say thank you to each other. Again, this outreach from around the world where we all come together to contribute wellness in the world, to contribute love and peace, and love and peace, love and peace into the world. We say thank you to all the enlightened ones that are assisting with all of this, everything that is here to assist us on this earth and assist us as people and individually. And we say thank you again to the teachers who came before us, the descendants who come after us. We're so very honored to be here today in these ways. So open your heart and receive as the blessing fields flow through you. Thank you. So it is. Well, thank you everyone who's here live.